Welcome to episode 169 of the Lone Hockey Podcast, where today we're going to be talking about some standouts in last night's matchup between the Blackhawks and the Wild. And again, close game for the Hawks, but they ended up slipping away in the back half of the game in the third period. And they let the game slide a little bit. Minnesota was able to take advantage. And from there, it was just kind of a downhill spiral throughout the third. I feel like it's kind of a common theme I've mentioned quite a bit of times throughout many different podcast episodes when I talk about the Hawks and what they've done and the leads that they let slip away from time to time. So I feel like this is just another one of those games where, yes, they had a good offensive game, but just wasn't enough because they let some offense slip on the defensive side as well. So we'll start with some standouts with Minnesota first and then go back. And I like Yakov Trennin's game in this game. I liked his playmaking. He's got a big power forward frame. He's not the fastest in a straight line, and he's not the fastest moving east-west per se with his skating, but at the same time, I really noticed his ability to use that physical size and the physical ability to really leverage contact and be able to handle pucks through contact. He's really strong in his upper body. He's really strong in his shoulder area, so that allows him to really drive into guys and be able to handle pressure a little bit easier. And he was really good at doing that throughout this game. He's really noticeable as a bottom six power forward, more so, and he can play his role really well. He can check really well. He can check guys through the end boards, and he's very effective at being able to be a checker as well. I liked Brock Faber's game. He would have had two goals if the goal he had one goal early on in the game, very early on. I believe it was 3 or 4 minutes in, but got called back for goalie interference, and he ended up scoring later on in the game. So he would have had two goals otherwise. He finished one, but I really like his ability to take shots from the line. I feel like I've seen a lot of improvement in Faber's ability to walk the line offensively, be more of a shot threat, and be more of a direct player moving pucks on net. And with Faber, you notice his defensive play, and that's the biggest quality when it comes to his game is his defensive habits, his shutdown ability, and how he can really leverage that. And at the same time, you look at his game and you look at the depth of his game, and you're like, okay, you're starting to see a little bit more flair offensively, which is really good to see from him. And he had a really good offensive year last year. It's just more a matter of now he's continuing to add more deceptive layers to his playmaking, moving across the blue line offensively. So it's really exciting to watch because he's still a young, prominent defenseman in the league, and he's adding more offensive layers to his game. So it's going to be interesting to see how he continues to trend down the line for Minnesota. But surely looks like he could be a number one defenseman for many years to come with his play and how engaged he is in every facet of the game offensively. Marcus Foligno, he had, I believe, his tip goal. I could be wrong on that, but he had one goal in this game. I really liked his ability to get interior and how he was so active around the slot area. And I feel like that's one of his more underrated abilities is being able to get off the wall, find middle space, and trying to tip pucks on net. And Foligno's a guy you don't necessarily notice a ton for offense. You notice him more for his shutdown abilities, defensive habits, and how he can block shots and many different facets when it comes to that. But I noticed him a lot offensively in this game, and I noticed him a lot when it comes to moving pucks low to high, being able to extend possessions with his frame, and being able to get interior to sometimes tip pucks on net and tip and redirect shots. So he was good throughout this game. I really like Kirill Kaprizov, and I'm not surprised that he continues to stand out and had a goal in this game, 5 shots, always seems to play well against the Blackhawks, and a guy who I love watching his footwork because he's so skilled with his feet. He's very exciting to watch with his feet and how he maneuvers around guys and how he maneuvers with deception. And Kaprizov's a guy we know how prominent he is offensively. You could argue he's having a breakout year this year because we've known about him as an elite player for quite some time now. But this year he's on pace for over 110 points. So essentially, it would be a breakout season for him. Obviously, he's been a player who's been offensively prominent in the league for a few years now. So, but for him, just being able to hit that over that 110 point plateau would be a big milestone for him in his career. And obviously, an elite player, obviously, an elite offensive threat. And he's so fun to watch every time he's on the ice. Ever since he started back in his rookie year, he's just continued to get better and better over time. Marco Rossi, I liked his physical play in this game. I noticed him a lot in terms of after whistle stuff, being able to stand up for himself in that sense. He was noticeable in draws. I felt like his face-off ability was good. He's strong in his stick and face-off circles, so it helps him be able to win draws a little bit easier. He's really underratedly strong when you're talking about Rossi. He's stronger in his core area and his lower body, and he's very underrated when it comes to those two. So it allows him to really control situations and be able to control pressure with ease. And then for Chicago side, Taylor Hall with 2 assists, 3 shots. As a passer, he's good. He's finding lanes, he's finding cross seam plays, he's finding lateral plays in the O zone. And he was just overall very noticeable when it came to being able to generate shots and being able to generate plays that are sometimes difficult to find and find difficult passing lanes as well. So he was good. Connor Bedard was good, of course, with 1 goal in this game. And I don't feel like there was much else that needs to be said about Bedard other than the fact that he was very physical throughout this game. And it's good to see because players are going to go after him physically, so he's going to have to stand up for himself. And I feel like this year we've seen a lot more of a physical edge from him, and he's not afraid to really get into it after whistles and during the play, even. He's not afraid to do it. He's not afraid to stand up for himself, which is a really good sign. And at the same time, he's really good at being able to hold his own ground offensively. And in those situations where he attacks the net or pokes at the goalie in extra time. He's not afraid to stand up for himself or take those risks from time to time. And he did a lot of that throughout this game. And yeah, he's just overall been very physical, which is good to see. I like Frank Nazar's game. It's been a slower start for him ever since getting called up, and I feel like he was kind of rushed. I don't feel like there was necessarily a need for him to try and come up this early and join the Hawks. I feel like you could have kept him in the AHL, he would have been fine. But Nazar looked good, and there's pace to his game, there's pace to his transition offense. He was good on line rush, he was good attacking the middle of the ice, good supporting entries, and he's really noticeable from that perspective. I noticed him in his offensive ability, being able to make plays, being able to generate shots. He's got a really underrated shot. He's known as a playmaker, but he's got a really underrated shot. And the plays he can make with speed and motion is really, really intriguing to watch when it comes to him because he can maintain a high gear of pace and at the same time he can maintain the ability to manage the puck in motion, which is hard to do. He was really good at it. Nick Foligno had a goal in this game, and ironically, the Foligno brothers ended up scoring both of them. And Nick was good, competitive, tenacity, forechecking ability, working to get second pucks, working to get rebound opportunities. He had a second rebound chance that popped out to him in the slot, which led to his goal. So a competitive player, a feisty player, plays with that edge. Ryan Donato, similar thing, similar concept, where he showcases that tenacity, that compete on a regular basis. It never goes away. And he's played really well against Minnesota this season thus far. Only a handful of games he's played against Minnesota, but anytime they play against Minnesota, he's really stood out and he's been very effective. So that's been a really good sign to see from many different players throughout the lineup.